All right. Good morning, everyone. This is Michael Parrish, the Senior Vice President of Client Development here at Halo Therapy Solutions. This is episode 3 of Inside the Wellness Mind. I am thrilled to have our guest for this episode, Ryan Vesce. And before I introduce Ryan, I just wanted to let everybody know, again, it's not this heavy for most people, but with my past careers, especially in law enforcement and in the military, and then being an athlete as well, that the mind-body connection, and that's a broad way to explain it. It's always been something that's near and dear to my heart. It's what helped me perform at a high level. And when I learned about Matterhorn Fit, of which Ryan is the co-founder, and their Matterhorn Method, I have from afar been a big fan. Had a conversation with Ryan almost a couple of years ago. I love what they're doing, and I'm thrilled to be able to bring this to our networks. And without further ado, I want to introduce everybody to Ryan Vesce, former professional hockey player, co-founder and CEO of Matterhorn Fit. You can hear all that buzz and noise in the background. That's because they're jamming and making things happen down at his facility. Ryan, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
Yeah, so we hear a buzz back there. That's good news. I don't hear silence, so that means you guys are making it happen.
Yeah, it's always a lot of. I was going to take this from somewhere else, but I had some other meetings, so I had to do it from the office here. But yeah, there's a bunch of people back there, doing treatments and working out. So typical day here.
Yeah, good. That's great to hear. We'll get into obviously some of the growth and what the excitement's all about. But as per usual, anybody who knows me, I love to know the person behind a movement or a concept. And suffice it to say, I'd love to get a sense of where you grew up, when you got into hockey, and then as you work through that, maybe start to lead us into when the inspiration for Matterhorn Fit started to materialize. But I'd love to know where you're from.
Yeah. So I grew up in Long Island, New York, a town called Huntington. Played, my junior hockey in Long Island. Ended up going to Cornell University. Played 4 years there under legendary Mike Schaefer, who is one of the most renowned college hockey coaches in history. Had a great experience there. Went on to fortunately play a pro career. Played 14 years across the American Hockey League, a little bit in the NHL with the San Jose Sharks. Was overseas in Russia. I played 6 years in the KHL. Played in Sweden, Switzerland, Finland, Belarus, and Croatia. So traveled around the world, had a great experience playing hockey there, and really had a lot of injuries just by a function of being a pro and just the bumps and bruises that go along with the game, and had 8 surgeries in my career. And so after my back surgery in 2010, I had hip surgery 6 months later. I was at a point in my career where I thought I was going to retire. Really out of desperation, we started combining all these elite neurological techniques that I learned from these different practitioners that I work with in these countries into one fully integrated process with my strength coach, who's the co-founder of Matterhorn Fit, Sean Sullivan. And we put that together at that time. It wasn't for a business. It was to extend my career. Fortunately, it worked. I played another 5 years pain-free. And really, through that process, it was just one of these miraculous moments in my life where we unlocked all my compensation and allowed me to play. So we had this hypothesis that this, and really not knowing at the time, honestly, if this could work for other people or if this was just an anomaly for my own body, but we had this hypothesis that if we could systematize what we did and bring it to not only other athletes, other pro, aspiring athletes, professional athletes, but everyday people in pain, in particular active seniors in Florida, we'd have a business that could have a very big impact in our community. And so that's how we started Matterhorn Fit. We set out to test and see if this process could work. And now fast forward about 7 years later, we have 3 locations open. We've launched our franchise system to bring the Matterhorn Method across the country. We're currently opening 2 more, one in Stamford, Connecticut, another one in Fort Lauderdale. Sarasota is very close to signing. They should be coming on soon as well. So we're starting to really gain some traction and bring this process and this new type of methodology and this fully integrative rehabilitation and performance process to, all ages. And so we're super excited about where we're at right now.
Yeah, that's exciting. When I first heard you mention that you were able to play injury-free after, I guess maybe you didn't call it the Matterhorn Method at that point in time, but through the process and protocols that led you to play injury-free in a demanding sport like hockey. And I have to say, as a former combatant, of course, knowing the old adage, I went to fight and saw a hockey game, right? So you have a very tough sport. I have admired you guys as athletes from afar. If anybody's never seen playoff hockey, or just hockey generally, but especially playoff hockey, you have to watch it. It's riveting to say the least. But the fact that in a sport like that with so much demand on your body, torque, maybe levels of torque that the average person can't even fathom with respect to the skating, and you're skating forward and reverse and cutting and weird angles with your sticks. There's probably torque on joints and ligaments that we're not even cognizant of. It is incredible that you were able to play injury-free from that point forward. So, and that is, as I understand, that's what's formed the foundation for the Matterhorn Method, right? Which we're going to get into, and I'll post a couple things here. And real quick before I get there, I was reading a little bit about you, and I looked at when you got to the San Jose Sharks, and it said when you scored your first goal, and I just thought in my mind, what was it like scoring your first NHL goal? I know it's got to be amazing, but what's it like scoring your first NHL goal?
We had, there was probably a little cherry on top of that first goal too, because it was in Long Island. So it was where I was from.
Okay.
There was probably 60 people there, of friends and families and people I grew up with, that came to watch me play that game. It was the first game of the second year I got called up. It was the first game of that season that I played in, that I ended up having the goal. So it was kind of a cool moment. I got called up. Everyone's came to the game, and then just to do it in front of all my friends and family was just a great memory, and just something that I'll certainly cherish forever.
Well, I got excited for you when I read about it. I'm not in your shoes, but just only imagining and seeing the joy on your faces when you guys do score a goal, and your first goal in the NHL, it had to be amazing. So I want to do a couple things here. I want to, if I may, highlight this, because if someone goes to your website, when you see something like lightning fast pain relief and elite training in one seamless process, the average person probably, if they are experiencing pain, they probably can't even fathom that that's even possible, especially if you've been dealing with nagging pain. When you say rewire, rebuild, I know those words weren't just chosen randomly because you like those words. What does that mean from the Matterhorn Fit perspective?
Yeah, so and this is a little bit back to why we fix pain so quickly, is because we look at things from a neurological level. So we look specifically at how the brain is communicating with the body, so those parts of the body can absorb the force of movement. And after a surgery, after an injury, after compensation for a long time, certain patterns neurologically get shut down, and you end up having the wrong parts of the body absorbing too much force and the right parts not doing their job. So first and foremost, everyone goes through our initial evaluation. We identify exactly where that breakdown is happening, and therefore it is the root cause of the problem. Right? Yeah, exactly. That's where the root cause of the problem is. We identify where that's coming from, and then we take them through a series of 2 weeks of treatment to reconnect those patterns to get the right parts of the body working to absorb force as they should. And when that happens, for example, we'll take a knee injury, for example, because we see a lot of knees and shoulders and backs. If you have a knee injury and we identify that, your quad is not working in the right spot, and your glute or your low back's not working in the right spot, and that's what's causing the force to go to the knee and to give you that pain response, or to have more of a strain or compression on the joint because the right parts of the body aren't doing their job. We unwind that whole pattern over a 2-week process. That pain goes away. Then we build a personalized movement plan to prevent that from coming back. And that transitions to long-term strengthening and performance for whatever goal that person is looking to do. And so it's a full circle where you don't go from a PT to another place to a gym where you have methodologies that maybe aren't aligned. It's fully aligned. It's all neurologically based, and the results, fortunately, have spoken for themselves in what we've been able to do in a short period of time with the vast majority of our patients.
What would you say to, let me ask you this, when you were, this isn't obviously just about athletes, but someone who has an athletic background and a performance-based background, and I'll harken real quick back to your childhood. For those that this might go in front of that are athletes or might be younger athletes, what was, were you, when you were young and you were coming up as a hockey player, did you make the mistake that we make when we're younger by looking at someone's outward physical presence and determining whether or not they were going to be formidable or not based on what they look like? I made that mistake a lot when I was a young fighter.
Yeah, I mean, I think, yeah, I mean, I'm
I'm
5'7". Yeah, I'm 5'7", 160 pounds. I don't think anyone would have said I would have played professional hockey. So I'm sure people did that to me quite a bit, and I think it's just comes with the territory, right?
The reason I asked that is because a thought surfaced in my mind when I was looking at your training clips of what you guys are doing there at Matterhorn Fit, and we're caught in this world where many people's idea of fitness is add a delt, a pack, maybe build big biceps and triceps, and flex your quads. That's a very aesthetic, and there's nothing wrong with that per se if that's a goal, but it seems to be a very short-sighted way to look at fitness, or a non-comprehensive way to look at fitness, because if you don't feel good, then there's a problem, right?
Right. Yeah. So we look, so we 100% focus on that, right? The looking good is a byproduct of doing the right things, feeling good, having access to the muscles when you want them, when you need them, right? And so you're going to play pickleball and you need to go get go for a shot and react to a ball. You want to be able to absorb force in that movement and be able to have your brain and body work as it should. Someone who's just doing bodybuilding or strength training is not going to have the ability to do that because they're not training their system to operate like that. So for us, it's about range of motion. It's about flexibility. It's about getting muscles to turn on and off very, very quickly and go back to length where they have the ability to absorb force again. And so everything we do is individually based. And so we're basically taking the client from whatever their goal is and then building the program around where we're trying to get to based on the history and what we've realized in the rehab, side. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's excellent. Yeah, I just, it always surfaces in my head because again, you're right. Looking better, muscles developing, that is a byproduct, but there are various phases in my life in particular where I've migrated into thinking that maybe what I need to do at this phase is to just build some bigger muscles, and then funnily enough, if I wasn't training correctly and staying balanced, I looked perhaps better, but I didn't feel as nimble and as effective as I did when I was maybe not looking quite as muscular.
Yeah,
so,
and I feel like that's on trend too. Like as people are getting older and playing more or being more active, right? I think from what I remember from my grandparents is very different than what my parents are doing, now. My parents are super active. My grandparents, I remember my grandpa sitting in the chair watching, TV. That's pretty much what I remember him, doing from every time I was over there, right? So like it's a different mindset now, and people want to do activities and they want to feel good. And so, our process is something that helps them do that.
So pretty much you take everybody through that basic 4-step process. You're going to diagnose. Now, let me ask you this with that in mind. Let's say someone comes in and they're here at the diagnostic stage. Let's say there's someone like myself, mostly, pretty good athlete, fit, relatively speaking, and I come in, but you discover that I have been dealing with chronic tightness, and because I always deal with it ever since my SWAT days, where certain movements will cause that right side to seize up.
Yep.
And I also say to you, I want to ideally start to unlock that, figure out how to keep that pain from surfacing again, while also developing, let's say, another 10 pounds of muscle. I'm assuming you guys could put together a program for someone like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, exactly. So like in that first step where you identify if you do have a breakdown going on from your brain communicating with your body, or what you're feeling in your case is some other issue, right? If it's just a soft tissue issue, is it just the weakness in certain muscles that is causing this area of the body to like contract all the time because you're weak somewhere else. So in that process, we figure that out and then retrain it and then build that movement plan. A lot of people go through that process and don't have compensation. So you have someone that feels great, and we make them go through that process because we want to know what's underneath the hood, and we don't want to find out 2 months down the road that they have shoulder pain and they're looking at us saying, well, you guys are terrible trainers. And it's really because they had this underlying issue that no one knew about, And so we want to know as much information as we can on every single client so that we can, give them the best chance and the quickest ability to develop, whatever goal they're trying to get to. So
Awesome. Yeah, and your first facility was where again, Ron?
Bonita Springs, Florida.
Bonita Springs.
So Southwest
Okay.
Florida. Yeah.
Southwest Florida. Okay.
Yeah.
And then your second location.
Yeah, so the first one, we started in Bonita. We opened our second corporate location in Naples, Florida. Then we launched our franchise system. Our first franchise is open in Fort Myers. And now our second one's going to be in Fort Lauderdale. We're opening one in Stamford, Connecticut right now as well. And then Sarasota will be coming soon. So, so we're starting to really spread the word on the Matterhorn Method, which is exciting. And hopefully we can have, as big of an impact as we had in our own community in these other, markets.
Now, as you cast your vision forward for the next 2 years, I mean, I'm assuming that you and your team, you get together and you set goals for a couple of years. What goals do you have with expansion in a perfect world over the course of the next 2 years?
We take a similar philosophy that I took in when I was playing hockey. It was you take care of the day to day and do the right things, and the points and goals will come. And so that's how I approach hockey. That's similar to the way we're approaching our growth. Most important is getting our new franchise partners off the ground, supporting the heck out of them, making sure they're being successful in their own markets. And then from there, we'll have a lot of other success. And that's what we've kind of stuck to on every single facility we've done. And it's really worked, and we're building something sustainable, not just going fast and then having, things, necessarily fall apart. So we really want to be really focused on supporting our partners and making sure that they're executing on the standards that we've set, our brand values, our culture, and having that type of impact in their community.
And so, with franchisees in mind, what would be a prototypical franchisee that you'd be looking for?
We're getting interest.
Country.
Yeah, we're getting interest from a lot of different walks of life, whether that's the high level strength and conditioning coach who wants to have his own business and wants to have a system in place and some structure around it and guidance and support. The high level therapist, right, the PT or AT that wants to do the same. We have the professional athlete. Stephen Camphor is opening our Fort Lauderdale one. He played in the NHL for the Panthers, for Boston. I mean, he played in the NHL for 12 years. So this is a great transition for athletes coming out of sport that want to stay into something they're passionate about, stay in the game, so to speak, and be in an atmosphere that they know well, right? They've lived in this world for a long time. Now we're starting to get some interest from the medical community. So like, doctors and things like that this could be a nice add-on to their practice and their services that they provide, whether that be orthopedic surgeons, whether that be concierge medicine doctors. So we're really going through each of them. And for us, it's about identifying and finding, the right people that fit our culture, and that, like I said before, can execute on our brand and our methodology and have consistency across each of the locations. So we're not rushing it. We're really looking for the right people, but yeah, we were getting a lot of interest from a bunch of different kind of parties.
That's awesome. So your blend of members in your locations, that's got to be fantastic. There was a name I wanted to write down. It was somebody I saw on your socials on Instagram, and she talked about, I think her name was Anna, and Anna mentioned that her son started going to Matterhorn,
Yeah.
and he's an athlete from what I gather,
Yep. Yep.
and that inspired her. Just average Jane. Now Anna's probably not an average person
Yep.
because she seems like she's got some fire in her spirit, but she's not an athlete, and she's gotten tremendous benefit from the Matterhorn method. It was cool to see that an athlete and then the athlete's mom is.
Yeah, it's a really unique setting where we have these high-level athletes, and then you have the everyday people. We've had the athlete, the parent, and the grandparent in a lot of families, all going through the Matterhorn method and having these customized programs for themselves, and all feeling part of it, all being inspired, and having hope that they can do things again. So it's been really gratifying in that sense, and I think that's what makes us a little unique. A lot of performance training centers are 12 to 18 years old. You get the occasional college or professional athlete, right? That's the typical. Other older demographic. Personal training is more in that market of the older person, right? We're blending all of them, and we're getting the process has been able to be scalable and work across all different age categories and abilities and still be effective. And so, a big part of our population is, people 50 plus, and who are in pain. And it's really interesting to see those people maybe who never worked out a day in their lives before they came to Matterhorn. We fix their pain, then we build a program, and then they become addicted to working out because they feel great. And they're telling their friends about how they work out. And, it's funny because their friends always tell us how, like, oh man, they're like, she's talking about you guys like crazy, but she never worked out a day in her life before. Now she's the big workout, so it's really awesome to see those habits change, and to have that type, again, an impact on people's lives.
Yeah, well, and again, of course, anybody who knows some of these anecdotal stories knows you're exactly talking about Florida. So yes, plenty of people here in Florida that are in the wisdom age brackets, as I say. And it's funny, as I'm sitting here at the age of 53, and I think you're 10 years younger. You can, as you know, you see it because you've now been delivering the Matterhorn method to these various age brackets. It's amazing what you can accomplish with the right protocols, no matter what the decade.
Yeah, I mean, our tagline is there. There is hope, and this is everything we do is designed around inspiring hope and getting someone to understand and believe that there is another way. They don't have to live like this for the rest of their lives. And once we can turn that corner and get them to believe a little bit, but they don't really believe, and then we show them results quickly, that's when the switch happens. And that's where you have someone who really starts to be really compliant, who sees the results and really starts to believe in doing the things that they previously thought were off the table for the rest of their lives. And so we're really giving people their lives back. And that's, again, just another reason we're in this business. The people who go into this type of business is because they want to help people, and it's it's awesome to see.
And the immense gratification that you guys get personally. I'm imagining that when you've made these differences in people's lives, the probably hugs, wide eyes, smiles, that probably just that's probably what makes it as fulfilling as I imagine it is.
100%. 100%.
Yeah. So let's talk about some challenges. What has been a little bit harder than you originally might have anticipated it would be as you've begun to prototype the business and then start to franchise it? What were some things that surprised you?
Yeah, I think well, you're learning every day, right? And we have a learning culture. Like our COO, our head of health and performance, like we're all always learning every day. So nothing surprising in that respect, but we we're understanding as we grow, there are new challenges, right, and new responsibilities and new a hierarchy of our organization that we are implementing to try to make sure that our high level, me, our COO, we're focusing on high level activities, and we're having the right people in place to execute, our process and what we do. So, in scaling, that's a bit of challenge, and what we're learning and always going through is just making sure that we always have the right people in place, right, and finding the right people, identifying them, training them, bringing them into the culture, and having them embody the spirit and the culture of what we do. And so, I don't think that's ever going to change. I think that's always going to be something there. The more we grow, the more great people we're going to need. And we've been very fortunate. Our team is phenomenal. We're like super excited about our group that we have and our core group. And we're really looking to continue to add those pieces in place. And a lot of that will be with the new franchise partners, right? And identifying those people who are the right people that fit in our brand that we can bring in and, continue our journey and what we're trying to do.
That's exciting. So take me real quick through like a day-to-day there. So Bonita Springs, so you guys have continued to fine-tune, and what in my mind, when I think in terms of someone having, being diagnosed, and then from there, when you run diagnostics, you're able to identify what they need, then that would lead to different needs, and then perhaps different programs. How do you pull that all together and regulate that when you have a number of different people coming in with a different program? What does that look like?
Yeah. So from like a business standpoint, we've built our own software that runs everything on the business. So everything related to the business. So that helps, our rehab team stay organized, helps with the communication between the rehab and the training staff. It helps bridge that gap between the rehab program and the training program. Helps us keep track of all the history, the data, the KPIs, literally everything the business runs on. So from a business standpoint, that's, been very, very helpful in making sure that everything's tight and everything's consistent. From a operation standpoint, really the training. We have a very extensive training process. We make sure people know what they're doing. We make sure we teach them how to think. I think the biggest things in rehab or training from people who come to us with not from our system is they not necessarily know how to think and how to solve problems and think outside. Why is this happening, right? And we always try to talk about the why. Why are we doing this? Why is this happening to this person? And really trying to figure it out and within the guidelines of our system. So we have some guidelines, but most importantly, we teach them how to think and use the skill sets that they have so that they can take our guidelines and become great therapists, become great strength and conditioning coaches from that, and that's really important. So we're able to do that and elevate our own staff based on our systems and structure to give them the tools and the thought process and the ability to really take themselves to the next level, both from a training standpoint, but also from a personal standpoint of getting to the next position, owning your own business, wherever their goals are. So
I love that. And one of the things that I noticed when I was looking at some of the footage of some of your strength and conditioning trainers is I've always said that in many things there's a small difference or small differences, but those small differences are what make the big difference in results and in long-term success. And so likening that to the ability to, as I was hearing you articulate that, really look at the finer points, like you say, and really think through why something is happening the way it's happening, or how should it be happening differently, and then looking at someone's form and understanding physiology and not just being a lazy trainer. You don't have lazy trainers. You have trainers that are really dialed in, and that's special to see, because I don't know how many times you go to a gym and you'll kind of see it. Too many trainers that are kind of just checked out or looking at Jim over there. Hey Jim, how you doing? While their person they're training over here. Great job, Mary. And that drives me crazy. And I know.
100%. One of our core values is we focus and impress every single session. And so that's what we hold our training staff accountable to, whether it's 7 a.m. or it's 6 p.m. after they've already done, 8 sessions in the day. It's the recognition that someone drove out of their community, out of their home, to come to our doors because they're expecting the best of the best, and you owe it to them to give them that attention to detail and that level of focus for that full hour session. And that's the standard. And there's no one better than that I've ever seen than my co-founder, Sean Sullivan. I mean, he is as dialed as you've ever seen, and now that has rubbed off, and now everyone kind of has embodied his style and his level of focus and everything like that, which is, it's huge. It makes all the difference.
And it's contagious, and it is that extra mile that it can make. It just makes a huge difference in inspiring someone, equipping them, improving upon what they're gifted with physically. That's super special. I noticed that about you guys, and someone like me that's seen a lot of trainers around the world, SEAL trainers and physical fitness trainers and police academy trainers, and there's some great ones and there's some not so great ones, and I could see that you guys have greatness in your DNA. So credit to your
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, it's he did a lot with that, and it's knowing what to look for, I think, too. And I think when we're coming from very high level professional sports, we know what the real deal looks like. So when we're hiring, it's easier for us to sniff out, what the real deal looks like. For maybe someone who didn't have our experience or didn't have our backgrounds, they're hiring someone to be a trainer, no fault of their own, but they just don't know what the difference is. They don't know what it really looks like or should look like,
Yes,
So
I love that. There's also another way to say it: when perfection comes, imperfection goes away. There's no perfect people, as it were, but obviously that draws the point that when true professionalism comes in, there's nothing more inspiring than a truly dedicated and capable trainer. And that's somebody that makes a difference in someone's life. So kudos to you guys. I'm excited about that. By the way, I'm selfishly excited because when you said you're coming to Sarasota, you guys gotta hurry up and get out here. Get see my shiny, happy face.
Soon enough. Yeah, soon enough.
I'm excited about that. So let's talk real quick. I'm gonna harken back to something we veered into a couple of years ago, and that's the broad and general term of recovery. Now, I would say that you guys, with some very proprietary methodology, you're helping accomplish a lot of things, and not the least of which is you're helping people overcome and then recover from, let's say, either lack of knowledge, but as it relates to physical recovery, do you envision, and I was looking at your footprint, I know we talked about this before, do you envision potentially having recovery equipment in your facility?
I mean, it remains to be seen a little bit. It's something we definitely live and breathe and do on our own, and a lot of our clients, use on their own. It's going to be a little bit dependent on the footprint of each of the facilities and the space we have and the access we have. But recovery is great. Breathing is great.
Yes,
all the different recovery modalities are great. And we're not of the mindset where you should do this and you shouldn't do, recovery. Like, I think it's your sleep, your nutrition, your recovery, your breathing, your, self-affirmations, all that stuff kind of works together with how the body feels and how you feel mentally, and how you're ready to go about your business, whatever it is that day. So, I mean, I definitely could see down the road potentially some super centers that have a little more extensive recovery units. But right now we're focused on our normal footprint and sticking to what we know we do really well, and just making sure we execute on that.
Yes. Yep. Well, if and when you get to that point, I know you'll get to that point. I know that to the extent that it was a super center and you added recovery, I know you guys it wouldn't just be a run-of-the-mill recovery area within your business, because recovery is a lot like fitness. So, for example, you guys have a lot of equipment and there's some equipment that you have and some adaptations of some of that equipment that you can't find anywhere else. All someone has to do is just take a real quick spin through one of your videos and go, whoa, okay, they've got some really unique stuff here.
Yep.
Yep. And you and I know that you could give you guys standard equipment. You'll be able to, with your knowledge and your expertise and your experience, you'll be able to use that equipment to greater effect than what some people could use without your knowledge and your system. And so all that to say, recovery can be a lot like that as well. Recovery, in my experience, is, someone could have a sauna, but they may not know how to get everything they need to get out of that sauna. They might have cold plunge, but they may not run the protocol correctly. They might have halotherapy, but maybe they don't know how to breathe to the extent that they can improve upon just a standard respiratory cleansing modality. So I'd be excited when you guys get to that point to see what you guys would be able to do with a recovery area.
I'm sure we'll talk. I'm sure we'll talk. There may be some overlap there for sure.
Yeah, there's definitely some overlap down the road. So as we get ready to wind down, because I know you're short on time today, you're domiciled in Bonita Springs.
I still can't see it.
And then do your franchisees that are going to be a part of your program, do they come to Bonita Springs? Is that where they would come to get their training?
Yeah, exactly. So we bring them in for a week. We have a week-long training. Before that, we have all virtual training on how we communicate, the brand, everything, so that when they get to training week, they're ready to rock. And we're just going through reps and making sure that everyone's up to speed. So it's pretty extensive, like online and video calls and things like that before they get on site. But then when they get on site, it's let's put it into practice. Let's get some reps. Let's make sure we know how to do everything and make sure we can actually execute, in real time. So.
That's awesome. Yeah. And then what would you say to anybody who might see this that is looking to and maybe has the passion for what you guys are putting together that might be interested in being
I think you can go to matterhornfitfranchise.com, and that's where you can find a lot of information on what we're doing, the franchise model, what it costs, all those different things, and you can set up a call and we can go through the process. The process usually takes about 4 months.
Okay.
And it's an extensive process, weekly calls, and really getting to know the candidate and the candidate getting to know us, and everyone feeling comfortable with everything about the business, that we can share at that point in time. And from there, it ends with the discovery day where they come on site, go through the process, spend a day in the conference rooms as well as on site, going through workouts, going through the process, and really experiencing the Matterhorn Method. And then ultimately, we decide if it's a fit, for everyone. So
I love it. Yeah, that's great. Well, I'm not going to wait till Sarasota. I'm going to come down there to Bonita Springs.
We'll get you down.
Sure. Have you guys put me through my paces.
Good. Look forward to that.
Yeah, I look forward to that. I'll have to, still hanging on to the athleticism that I had for many years. But you hit that 50. I tell folks, 30s you're still going up. In my experience, my T-shirt hangs retired in the police academy at 35, and because of the physical fitness scores, and I was still going up, and in SWAT I was still going up, and I hit my 40s, and I wasn't going up with the hockey stick, but I was going that way now. I was flattening out, going that way, and then in my 50s I think I'm maintaining now.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to get a resurgence and come down there.
Yeah, we'll get you going again. Awesome.
Because one of the things I wanted to say, and I'm assuming you believe this too, and it was when you were talking about someone preparing for a sport. You've heard people say in the past, I'm gonna play a sport to get in shape, and it should be the opposite. You should get in shape to play a sport.
Yeah. Exactly.
So High Rocks, that's in my sights. Maybe Spartan, some races like that. I'm gonna have to take you up on the Matterhorn Method to make sure that I can be equipped properly to perform at a high level. I'm looking forward to it.
We'd love to work with you.
Yeah. I want to thank you for your time today, Ryan, and
thank you.
Really thrilling for me to see your success, especially after having met you almost 2 years ago. and to see you guys expanding and to see how you further refine your method over there at Matterhorn Fit. And looking forward to seeing you in the very near future. And I just thank you for your time today. I know you're
Yeah, no, thank you. I appreciate it. Appreciate having me on, and I think it's great what you're doing, getting people together for this series. So, yeah, thank you again.
Yeah, look, we're all, and I've said it before, and maybe I don't know if you saw it. The reason I'm doing this because we're all on LinkedIn. We either have hundreds of connections or thousands of connections, and we're all busy. We're expanding our businesses, and we're ideating on and iterating on ideas, and we're doing all that. But it's rare that we get a chance to just pause for a second, have at least maybe a 30-minute to 60-minute discussion. And what you guys are doing is fantastic, and I'd be remiss if you being in my network, we didn't try to let the world know what you guys are doing, because I'm excited about it, and
I appreciate
you're
that.
making a difference, and I appreciate that, and I want the world to know about that. So that's what
Awesome.
I'm working on.
Thank you so much.
And we'll have to have you back once you expand a little bit further as well.
We'll do one with you in it. We'll do a video of you working out in Sarasota.
Okay. All right. We'll do it.
So,
I'll take you up
all right,
on
cool.
it.
Cool.
Have a great weekend.
Thank you so much.
All right. Great job, Ryan. Thank you.
Bye.